Right, my beloved Madridistas, welcome back to Madrid. Okay, the bubble popped. This was so incredibly disappointing. Look, we were a bit nervous going into this match. El Sadar is a really tough place to play. The crowd put so much pressure on the players on the pitch, and we were all kind of nervous. But this was not about that. This was a match where all of these structural weaknesses of this team that we've been observing all season long, all of those weaknesses were on full display. Okay, this is a team that depends way too much on individual moments of brilliance. This is a team that has no consistent collective play. The link-up play up front is terrible. We have two absolute mega superstars up front who cannot seem to play together to save their lives for some mysterious reason. Ceballos doesn't belong in this squad. We need to get rid of this guy. Needs to leave immediately. I have 5 takeaways that I want to share with you guys, and I'm afraid that none of them are good. Okay, this match was such an incredible opportunity to consolidate the momentum. I think it would have been psychologically such a boost to win in a difficult stadium like this and to keep the streak going. But it all fell apart because the structural weaknesses that exist in this squad have yet to be fixed properly. Okay, let's just go through the match very quickly first, the lineup in the match, and then we'll get to the takeaways. And like I say, none of them are good. In terms of the lineup, look, this was a 4-4-2. The only surprises were in the defensive line, and we had Alaba and Asensio as center backs, which I was a little bit surprised, and Carvajal returned to the right back position. So it looked like Arbeloa was trying to save sort of Rudiger and Trent or rest them or something for the Benfica match, which is a little bit surprising to me because, you know, Rudiger and Trent have just come back from injuries and they played a couple of matches, but they're not players that have played 15 matches in a row and need to rest because they're getting burnt out. I mean, they literally just came back and have played a couple of matches, so I'm not entirely sure. This must have been a tactical decision because physically I don't understand why they would have to be on the bench. But the lineup came out with, you know, Courtois in goal, Carreras left back, like I say, Carvajal in the right back position, Alaba and Asensio as center backs, the middle of pitch, as you expected, Tchouaméni as pivot, Camavinga on the left, Fede on the right, Arda Güler a little further forward as a 10, although he does spend a lot of time on the right, and it's something that kind of annoys me, but eventually drifts to the middle. And then up front, Vini and Kylian. Now, the first half, the first 20 minutes of this match looked okay to me. Okay, like in the first 20 minutes, we felt in control of the match. You know, we had possession, but it wasn't just kind of, you know, we were able to take the sting out of the match, like to have most of the possession, and it wasn't just sort of silly possession. It was constructive possession. We were attacking on the right, we were attacking on the left, kind of switching sides. We were trying to make runs behind the defense. When we lost the ball, we recovered it pretty quickly. Like, it felt like we were playing a pretty decent match. And then after about the 22nd minute, the wheels just started to come off, and we completely lost control of the match. And from that point on, everything sort of broke apart. Okay, we'll do just very quickly in terms of the match. Okay, I think we started on the front foot. We looked okay. Fede was very active, you know, making runs on the right, but then drifting to the middle whenever he got into trouble on the right. Fede just a very resourceful player. We had good long spells of possession, but we were probing. They weren't just sort of kind of possession for the sake of possession. In the 12th minute, I wrote in my notes, we look very comfortable on the ball. The passing is good. The movement is good. Osasuna looked pretty well placed defensively. They were playing kind of a defensive mid-block. But generally speaking, I was happy with the match. In the 15th minute, I'm like, okay, we look well positioned. We took the sting out of the match. Defensively, we look pretty well organized because we're recovering the ball fairly quickly. And then, you know, Osasuna was sort of, you know, trying to counter. Our first shot came in the 17th minute, a shot by Vini that was a little bit too soft. A minute after that, Osasuna had their first chance. Carreras, I thought, was very active in the first half. I thought, you know, in the first sort of 30 minutes of the match, I thought he was playing quite well. He was even carrying the ball up the middle of the pitch, you know, very constructively, you know, I think defending well, but also moving forward well. You know, like I say, mixing the attack on the left and the right, I thought we were doing that quite well. And then about in the 22nd minute, things started to change. Osasuna started to push up. We had defended pretty well up to that point, but things started to sort of fall apart. In the 23rd minute, Courtois had an amazing reflex save. There's always one or two of Courtois miracles per match, and he's one of the few players that we can sort of rely on pretty consistently. Arda Güler started the match a little bit too far to the right for my taste, although eventually he did drift to the middle. In the 27th minute, Osasuna had a header that hit the post. We were fortunate that didn't go in. In the 29th minute, a very good play by Vini on the left, but resulted in a shot that went high. In the 30th minute, you could start to see more clearly that Arda was kind of drifting more to the middle of the pitch, was what I like to see. In the 30th minute, a good shot from Kylian from outside the box that produced a pretty good save. A good ball recovery in the 31st minute that actually, there was a play that ended up in the 31st minute right at Alaba's feet, and he took a shot and it was deflected, but that was a really, really good opportunity that we wasted. And then we had the first goal in the 34th minute, and this was the play of the penalty. The initial reaction, the ref thought it was a dive, but then upon further review, it looks like he stepped on the Osasuna player's foot. Look, it looked, I don't know. I mean, it could have been a penalty. It looked like there was some contact. I mean, not a lot, because I think he must have just stepped on literally the tip of his toes, but it didn't look like there was a lot there. But anyway, it probably was a penalty. In any case, they did revise it in the bar booth, and that put Osasuna up. Now, it looked like in that play, it looked like there was poor communication between Asensio and Courtois in terms of who was going to attack that ball. And that tiny little millisecond of confusion is, I think, what delayed Courtois and why he was sort of late, making that final step. Anyway, after the goal, we were sort of trying to push up, but we were very imprecise in the final third. Vini looked very isolated in the counters, and you could just see Vini sort of yelling at the rest of the squad, like, come up, move the lines further up. But, in the final minutes of the first half, it was a little bit back and forth, Osasuna pushing up, and then Real Madrid trying to counter, but again, a little bit imprecise in the final third. In the 44th minute, a shot by Vini that went wide, but we were really struggling to get behind the Osasuna defenders. And then in the very last breath of the first half, Tchouaméni sort of scuffs a ball that ended up hitting the crossbar. Vini was quite active on the left, and he was producing a lot of play, but the final pass and the final shot was always off. So we finished the first half with a sensation that we had started well, but we somehow in the middle of the first half started to lose control of the match, and our link-up play up front our possession started to look more chaotic. We started to lose the ball more easily. Our link-up play up front started to look very poor. So it just looked like we went from playing reasonably well to just kind of deteriorating. The second half started with Arda, very far on the right, and Fede kind of playing more interior. That eventually switched. We were trying to push up. Even Kylian and Vini, you saw them swap sort of left and right. They even swapped positions for a while, just trying to find gaps and trying to surprise the Osasuna defense. Victor Muñoz, I have to say, was an absolute nightmare tonight. I mean, what a player. He drove everybody crazy. He drove Carvajal and Fede completely crazy. He was so difficult to mark. I think Victor Muñoz had the best matches of his life, I'm pretty sure. In the 51st minute, a very good play by Vini on the left. But now this is important. The play in the 51st minute and the play in the 53rd minute are extremely indicative and symptomatic of the weaknesses in our collective play that I am talking about. In the 51st minute, there was a very good play by Vini on the left. He puts a wonderful ball to the middle of the box, and the ball just trickles right in front of the entire box, and there was nobody there. Where is the number 9? This was a good play by Vini on the left, and he put the ball where he needed to put it. Where was the number 9? Now, 2 minutes later, we had the exact same situation. A fantastic play by Camavinga on the left. He gets to the byline, manages to put the ball, just to cross the ball, and the ball is trickling right in front of goal, and there's nobody there again. That is literally 2 situations in 2 minutes where you have a good play on the wing, but there's nobody in the box, and we're going to talk about why. There's nobody in the box to put it away. Okay, that is one of the big problems that we have, and we'll discuss it in a second. Okay, in the 54th minute, a good shot by Arda that went high. At this point, I wrote in my notes, the match is begging for a number 9. Okay, like at this point, something has to change. There's a void in the box. No one is in the box to finish the plays. I'm thinking, this is Gonzalo time. I don't know why it took so long to make that change, because Mbappe wasn't taking space in the box the way he should. I mean, if you're playing in the 9 position, you have to be the point man in the box to finish plays. Okay, in the 55th minute, a good counter by Vini, but the shot was deflected. In the 58th minute, I made a note that Kylian backtracked so much just to touch the ball in the middle of the pitch. So in order for Kylian to be involved in the offensive play at all, he had to come back so much that by the time the play continues and you get the ball in the box, Kylian isn't there. So this is a serious problem. This is a serious problem. And by the way, Kylian only backtracks to play offense. He never backtracks to play defense. And this is something that is bothering me a little bit about Kylian's play. He's a wonderful player, scores a lot of goals. We all love his skill, and he's the best player in the world and all that. But I'm telling you, the only times that Kylian backtracks is when he wants to touch the ball because he wants to participate in the creation of the offensive play. But you don't see him do it to try to steal balls. Vini did, actually, and this was a noticeable difference between the two. Alaba, I have to mention that despite this horrendous match, Alaba actually, I know this sounds crazy, I think he defended quite well. There were so many aerial clearances by Alaba in this match. It's incredible. I mean, he got to every single one. I thought Alaba was surprisingly good. I was worried when I saw him in the lineup. I was a little bit worried about how he did, but I think he did very well. Okay, in the 60th minute, Osasuna was kind of in possession again. In the 63rd minute, Camavinga and Carvajal came out. Trent and Brahim came in. In the 64th minute, a very good play by Vini, but had his shot blocked. But again, this was very individual. There's just way too much individual play up there. There's not a lot of combination play. It's always 1v3, 1v4. I've been saying this all year. Okay, in the 69th, in the 68th minute, you had kind of the time wasting officially began, and you kind of you see the Osasuna players kind of wasting time, all that sort of stuff. In the 69th minute, a goal by Kylian that was offsides. And then finally, in the 72nd minute, an amazing play by Fede that produced the goal by Vini. And finally, somebody was in the box to finish the play. But this was a phenomenal run by Fede on the left, actually, on the left-hand side of the box, which is not something that you would expect. But, Fede is one of the most polyvalent midfielders in the world. And yes, this was a horrible match. And I have a lot of bad things to say about this match. But Fede is a player that continues to surprise me. He's so resourceful. That was a phenomenal play by Fede, and finished by Vini, and finally we had somebody in the box to finish the play. Okay, in the 74th minute, Fede comes off and Gonzalo comes in. Now, this was a little bit surprising to me. I know that Fede has played more minutes than anyone else in the squad, and I do understand that he needs to rest, and we have a very big game coming up against Benfica. But I'm not so sure. It's always painful to see Fede come off the pitch because he was probably one of our more productive players on the pitch. But we did need a Gonzalo to come in. I just don't know if I would have done it for Fede. Okay, so Fede comes out, Gonzalo comes in. Gonzalo, was sort of moved to the right. Alaba, like I say, I thought was quite solid, especially in aerial balls. Now, in the 77th minute, we started to lose balls in kind of silly ways. Like, it's one thing to lose a ball when you're being pressed. It's another thing to lose the ball when you're completely alone and you're making a 10-meter pass. There are a lot of different ways of losing the ball. Some are good, some are bad. In the 78th minute, there was just chaos in the Osasuna box, and Kylian was just all alone, and he had his shot blocked, and it was just kind of so unfortunate because he had the entire goal to shoot. I mean, literally, he shot in the only place where that shot was going to get blocked. But a very, very unfortunate miss by Kylian, and he's starting to miss more things than usual, which concerns me because the last 2-3 matches he has missed a few howlers. In the 81st minute, now this is one of the highlights of the match. In the 81st minute, Ceballos comes in, and Arda comes off. Now, I have two fundamental problems with this. One, that Arda's coming off, and he didn't look tired to me, and he's not a player that I would take off in a match where you need a goal. And number two, Ceballos came in. So the two mistakes here, that Arda came off and Ceballos came in. Ceballos is a player. How many times have you guys heard me in the last 2 years say Ceballos dribbles too much and loses the ball in dangerous places too much? You've heard it a million times, and you had a wonderful example of it twice tonight, because he had a player, there was a play that Ceballos, by the way, in the 83rd minute, I did make a note that Vini did a lot of backtracking, and he was trying to help steal balls running back, etc. Kylian did not. It's just something very noticeable tonight. But let's get back to Ceballos. In the 85th minute, we have a situation in front of the Osasuna box, and it's a potentially interesting situation offensively, and Ceballos loses the ball because he over-dribbles. Because he's always over-dribbling. He's constantly embellishing his play, and totally unnecessarily in situations where the ball needs to circulate. You have a man to your right, you can play it back to the middle, but you decide to take on three players, and of course you lose the ball, and that produces a dangerous counter by Osasuna. And sadly, that wasn't the only ball that Ceballos lost. In the 85th minute, we sacrificed a good offensive play potentially because Ceballos lost the ball. But in the 89th minute, he lost the ball in an incredibly dangerous situation, and that is what produced the goal. And that produced the goal, and there goes the match, and 0 points in El Sadar, and that completely bursts our bubble. It breaks our momentum, and it was just absolutely, we, like I say, let's get to the takeaways. We played 20 good minutes, and then we just crumbled after that. And the fundamental weaknesses that we need to address are the following. And these are kind of 5 takeaways just straight off the cuff. Takeaway number 1, Ceballos cannot play at Real Madrid. I am so tired of this. This is a midfield position coming off the bench, an incredibly valuable position for any player in the world would be so privileged to have this opportunity. Well, we are wasting one position in the midfield with Ceballos, a player that cannot play in this Real Madrid. He is completely incapable of playing one touch. He's a player that risks the ball, and he loses the ball when we're attacking. He loses the ball when we're defending. Ceballos cannot play at Real Madrid. He does not have the quality to be a player at Real Madrid. And if you guys disagree with me, fine, but that's my view, and I'm sticking to it. Number 2, this team depends way too much on individual moments of technique and brilliance, okay? But everything is 1v3, 1v4, everything feels this way. There is no consistent collective play. You do not see the ball threading. You do not see 1 touch, 2 touches. It's just constantly, it's this guy will try it individually and that guy will try it individually. And everybody's trying everything individually. Our collective play is still a disaster. Okay, number 3, and this is controversial and I don't care. Vini and Kylian are 2 of the best players in the world, but these guys cannot play together. They just can't play together. I'm not seeing any synergy in terms of passing, like reading each other's moves off the ball, looking for each other, like knowing where the other's going to be. Like, these guys have been playing together for a while now, and I'm not seeing any chemistry. Now, they're both amazing players, but they're both players that are inherently individualistic, and they just don't combine well. I'm not seeing 1-2s between these two because they're both wingers at heart, like deep down in their DNA. Like, if you did a DNA sample, they're both wingers, okay? Because and it doesn't fit. They're kind of similar. They're too similar. Like, look, these 2 players are phenomenal individually, and I suppose we're lucky to have them because they're so talented and they're 2 of the best players in the world. But I don't see these guys playing well together. I just don't see it. I'm not seeing them combine together very well at all. So I'm really sorry, but that's tragically what I think. Okay, number 4. I don't know why Arbeloa keeps shoving Arda to the right. Now, I know he does drift to the middle eventually, but why? I don't think Arda should play any minutes on the right, okay? He's wasted there. Our play is much more effective when he is in the middle of the pitch. Now, tonight we had a lot of other problems, so, I'm not blaming everything on that, but I don't think that Arda should play any time on the right, and for some reason, Arbeloa keeps doing that, and that's pissing me off. Number 5, Kylian only backtracks. I just said this. Kylian only backtracks to play the ball. and to be part of the offensive construction of the play. But he'll never backtrack to try to steal a ball from a rival player like Vini does. I mean, Vini does scramble, and you can see him chasing people, and he participates and he helps out. Like, he helps press the ball from behind, which is great, because the midfielders of the other team, what they don't expect is a player to come from behind and steal the ball. So it does make an enormous difference if your forwards are backtracking and helping to press the ball, because it's not something that the rival players see or expect. Well, Kylian doesn't do any of that. The only time that Kylian backtracks is to pick up the ball because he feels like touching the ball, because he feels like he's not involved in the play. He's got to touch the ball. And he comes back to touch the ball when we're building our offense. But then by the time the play continues and the ball gets into the box, Kylian's not there. Why isn't he there? Because he backtracked 30 meters just so he could get a couple of touches on the ball. So I look, Kylian only backtracks to play the ball, never to defend, and that is another problem. So there are very serious fundamental problems in our collective play. This is not a team that looks seamless. Look, we have played patches of good football, but I wanted to see more continuity going into this match. I wanted to see kind of the momentum continue, because we had improved a little and we had played better spells of football, but I wanted to see a confirmation of that. I wanted to see the collective play become even more kind of cemented and more consolidated, but that's not what we saw. What we saw tonight was the exhibit of every single one of the structural flaws in this squad, which we've discussed to death on this channel. In terms of players, I don't know what to say. I mean, Courtois, of course, had a couple of magnificent saves. You can't blame him for the goals at all. Carreras, I thought, had a very good first half, and then a considerably worse second half. Alaba was surprisingly good defensively. He was. I mean, if you count it, he was so many of the aerial clearances defensively were Alaba. I thought he defended quite well. Asensio and Carvajal did not have their night. I think Victor Munoz just tormented the hell out of him. Tchouaméni was very hot and cold, defended sometimes very well, but lost a few balls as well. I can say the same for Camavinga. Arda was very intermittent. He was sort of, would do a few good things, but then there were moments of play where he kind of disappeared. I think it was the moments when he would drift to the right, where you missed him in the construction of play. So I think Arda was a little bit hot and cold, a little bit intermittent. Fede, I thought, played well. Fede, I thought, was probably one of our better players, and it's very hard to, if you look at all the recoveries and all the efforts he makes running up the wing, and he's so valuable both in attack and in defense, that Fede is one of the few players tonight that I don't think I can criticize in fairness. Bini, I thought, was, he produced a lot of play, and he's very electric, and he's very, he tries over and over and over, but he's just not linking up well with Kylian, and he's trying everything individually, and of course that's very hard to do. The goal was great because he had the intuition to get into the box and to suspect that the ball could end up there once he saw Fede making the run into the box, and I think that was a very astute play by Vini. But of course, he tries everything. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think, at least in terms of effort, I think Vini played well, but it wasn't as effective as it could have been because the broader collective play isn't there. Kylian, Kylian, I don't know what to say. He feels disconnected from the rest of the squad. It feels like he's not kind of understanding his role within the collective play. I think he tries to do everything individually. He goes to the middle of the pitch. He'll go 30 meters back to pick up a ball and start dribbling through people. That's not your job. I think there's something, I don't know, Kylian is a killer. By the way, he's also starting to miss chances that he wasn't missing in the earlier part of the season, which has me a little bit worried because, so far what has been saving Kylian is his prolific goal scoring. But if he starts to miss those, then we're in trouble because, he does tend to kind of slow us down sometimes. I think he over dribbles sometimes. I think he comes out of the box a little bit too often. I think he needs to spend more time in the box, or at least it felt like we needed a number 9. And you could add this to the list of takeaways, that the way that we played tonight, really, I think we were missing a natural number 9 in the box because there were so many balls that were put into the box that just needed finishing. but we didn't have that finisher there. And I think Gonzalo should have come on the pitch a lot earlier, and we really have to question the profile of these players and who should play what type of match, because Gonzalo is a natural number 9 who's going to spend more time in the box if you allow him to play that position. Kylian has a tendency to drift to the right, to the left, and back, and then when you need the number 9 to be in the box to finish the play, sometimes he's not there. And so anyway, I thought Kylian was a little bit disconnected, and I think this is a fundamental problem. He's just not linking up well with everybody else, and just everything feels too individual and too isolated, and just not cohesive. So look, this is incredibly disappointing psychologically in terms of momentum and everything else. But you know, I don't know. I had that little bit of fear that I needed to see more consistency and a few more victories to feel better about things. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And El Sadar is a place that's very hard to play. But this wasn't just the pressure of the crowd. This was just a match in which all of our flaws were on full display. And by the way, one more thing I'm going to mention to you guys, and I'll leave you with this. You know, what are we going to do when Jude comes back? Because, you know, it looks like Arbeloa was very kind of, I think, consolidated in the midfield that he's using now, with Tchouaméni and Camavinga on the left, Fede on the right, and Arda. You know, what's going to happen when Jude comes back? I mean, who are you going to replace? Because, you know, I think that Arbeloa really enjoys having the muscle, the kind of dynamism of a Camavinga, the more steady, static muscle of Tchouaméni, and then Fede, who's just an absolute, energy, he's an energizer bunny, and then Arda as the creator. Well, what are you going to do when Jude comes back? I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to play him as a 10, or are you going to play him? What are you going to do? Put him on like the left wing instead of Camavinga? Because Jude on the left wing doesn't really do it for me either. So I don't know. I think that the confusion is going to get even worse when Jude comes back. And I don't know. This is just a season that just when you think you have glimmers of hope, everything comes crashing down again. So I don't know. Just massively, massively disappointing. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. This is a really unfortunate evening. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Thanks for joining me. Love you guys. And as always and forever, a la Madrid.